Hello and welcome to the news here on Magic Bricks, now India's first property business channel. I'm Krishna Kumar. Let's take a look at the top stories that we're tracking. Home buyers can now approach the Lok Adalats for speedier redressal. This means no more lengthy legal battles with builders and developers in regular courts. The battle against air pollution gains more ground. Builders in Delhi NCR will have to strictly abide by norms to control pollution from construction sites. The Environment Pollution Control Authority will monitor and enforce these guidelines. 3,000 housing societies finally get the ownership rights to their homes in Mumbai. The state government converts all leasehold properties into freehold. More conversions to follow across the state. Straight to our top story then. In a move to ensure speedy redressal, home buyers will now be able to approach the Lok Adalats if developers delay possession. A Union Law Ministry notification has brought housing and real estate under the ambit of public utility services. So how will this benefit home buyers? To understand that better, I'm being joined now by Advocate Anirudh Vadva. Anirudh, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on the news and Magic Bricks. So my first question to you is, how will this move help the home buyer? How will it fast track the redressal process, so to speak?
Okay, so it helps in 2 or 3 ways. Number one, Lok Adalats are supposed to be expeditious and speedy. You're not bound down by the strict rules of procedure or evidence. The rule is that you have to approach the Lok Adalat before you approach any court. Otherwise, you cannot approach a permanent Lok Adalat. So take the dispute to either the National Consumer Forum or the State Consumer Forum, or before you take the dispute to court or an arbitration or anything else, you can approach the Lok Adalat, ask the Lok Adalat to give you the relief, and if the Lok Adalat admits the case and it's within the jurisdiction of 1 crore since 2015, the Lok Adalat can pass the relief. So it's really a big step forward for homeowners.
Anirudh, I also wanted to get some clarity on this. This is clearly a boost for home buyers, but do the Adalats actually have the powers to ensure justice for the home buyer? Is the builder bound to the Lok Adalat's verdict?
Homeowners have another remedy now open to them. Most disputes are under 1 crore. If your dispute is over 1 crore, then obviously you cannot take recourse to the Lok Adalat. But if it is under 1 crore, you can go to the Lok Adalat. There are a few concerns as well, and that also needs to be highlighted, because in all cases I would not advise that homeowners would go to a Lok Adalat, or that would be a more beneficial remedy for them. If a homeowner requires urgent interim relief, or if there are certain interim orders which a homeowner requires, then a Lok Adalat might not be the best option, because it's still a matter of doubt whether Lok Adalats can pass such interim measures or not. But for interim measures, there's no clarity in the Act on how that is going to be enforced. Number two, the procedure under the Act really was devised to deal with public service authorities. These authorities were government entities. For the first time in February, private authorities in the form of real estate companies and housing projects have been brought in within the purview of the Act. So how that works out is also a matter which is open to be seen.
All right, Anirudh Vadva, thank you so much. We'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for bringing us some much needed clarity on that big story. Now, moving on. There's respite for you if you are choking from dust from a construction site near your home in the Delhi and National Capital Region. The EPCA, or the Environment Pollution Control Authority, has made it mandatory for projects over 20,000 square meters to implement guidelines to control dust pollution. The EPCA will carry out regular inspections to ensure that the norms are followed. EPCA Chairman Purelal now joins us to tell us more about this initiative to make the air you breathe in Delhi and NCR cleaner. Thank you so much for being with us on the news and Magic Bricks. Mr. Lal, tell us about the builders and projects that will come under the EPCA's watch.
Constructions about 20,000 square meter and above. Any person, owner or builder constructing such buildings without proper environmental clearances and without observing guidelines to control dust will be subjected to a fine of rupees 50,000 for each default. Similarly, trucks and carriers carrying building material without proper precautions, that is covering the material and sprinkling some water on them, they will also be subjected to a fine of rupees 5,000 each.
Mr. Dal, I'm sure both me and the audience, home buyers who are watching us would like to know, in terms of how will you enforce the parameters set by the EPCA?
I'll tell you. We called all the concerned authorities, Faridabad and Gurgaon. We held a meeting with them and asked them to nominate a nodal officer responsible for inspecting such sites at proper intervals and giving us an account of action taken. They will be submitting us report of implementation and action taken after every 15 days. And occasionally, we will also have a surprise visit, that is IPCA, to ensure proper implementation. This is how this will be worked out.
All right, Mr. Dal, we will leave it at that. Bhurilal, Chairman of the EPCA, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on the news on Magic Bricks Now. Moving on. Nearly 82,000 houses have been sanctioned for the urban poor in 163 cities across 7 states by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. An investment of over 4,000 crore rupees has been allotted for the same. The sanctioned homes will be built in 163 cities, as I just mentioned. These homes will come up in West Bengal, Telangana, Bihar, Mizoram, Rajasthan, Jharkhand and Uttarakhand. The ministry will also provide a central assistance of over 1,200 crore rupees for the benefit of the urban poor under the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. Now, the countdown to the union budget has indeed begun. We're just about a week away from it. The government has kicked off the printing of the budget document for Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's third budget with the traditional halwa ceremony, in which the dessert is cooked and served to officials associated with the printing of the secret document in North Block. The ceremony was attended by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley along with the Minister of State for Finance, Jayant Sinha, and Finance Secretary Ratan Watal, Department of Economic Affairs Secretary Shaktikanta Das and Revenue Secretary Hasmukh Adya, along with other officials from the Budget Division. The sweet dish ceremony marks the beginning of a quarantine period where no Finance Ministry official directly involved with the budget making and printing process is allowed to go home or even have any mode of communication with the world outside till the budget is presented on the 29th of February. So, the Finance Ministry is in lockdown mode and busy working on the budget document, but that has not deterred the industry from putting forth their expectations. The real estate industry we're talking about here. Let's listen to what the SBI Chairman Anindya Bhattacharya prescribed for real estate when speaking at an ET Now event. Take a look.
We could also suggest that affordable housing could be accorded infra-status, where while digitalization of land records could also be taken up as a time-bound project. In all, we do believe that this budget provides an opportunity for actually bringing in multiple reforms that are now very much required.
Not just her, also listening to what Niranjan Hiranandani of Hiranandani Developers, Anshuman Magazine of CBRE and Ashutosh Limaye of JLL want to see in Budget 2016.
Person who buys a house in installment because he can't afford to buy a house which is ready has to pay service tax, while a person who's rich enough to buy a house which is ready with occupation certificate and possession with a one-shot payment doesn't pay a service tax. I think that's a very, very unfair levy, and I think Mr. Jaitley needs to really seriously look into it and get it eliminated out of the way. The second is the fact that the interest deduction on home loans, especially for a first-time home buyer, needs to be increased. With prices having gone up, especially in metro cities, the amount of 3 lakhs plus is quite inadequate and needs to push up at least to 5 lakhs of rupees.
What the budget can do is give fiscal incentives, interest rates, reduce the cost of money, bring in long-term funds, will make a big difference to the budget. The second is, of course, the previous budget had announced REITs, which is a fantastic, structure, financial structure. We can really help the industry. Now there's the issue of dividend distribution tax. If the government relooks at the tax, it will encourage REIT structures to come in, and I think they'll make a big difference to the real estate industry.
Two main areas, one on the REITs side, successful solution to the DDT bottleneck, and on the housing and residential side, more thrust and outlays for infrastructure to open up more land, especially in the fringe areas, and encouragement to private sector to build affordable housing to achieve the vision of housing for all, for everybody by 2022. So those are the main expectations from this year's budget.
Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation has recovered almost 10 crore rupees worth of property tax using a very innovative method. We have Ruchi Deshpande, who tracks that market, joining us with some more details on that. Ruchi, tell us, how exactly did they go about it?
The Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation, or the NMMC, has located property tax defaulters through electricity meters from the MSc DCL. What they essentially did was they scanned the list of commercial power users from the residential ones, and then accordingly levied property tax and penalty as per the commercial rate. Now note that the NMMC told us that the commercial property tax rate is 4 times more than what you pay from the residential point of view, and they also told us that many of these operators operate their businesses from their residences in order to evade this commercial property tax. Now the NMMC further told us that they have almost met their property tax target for the financial year 2015 to 2016, which is about 420 crore rupees, out of which they have recovered nearly 4,431 crore rupees. What they also told us that in order to get these property owners to comply to the tax, comply with the tax norms, they are mulling a 50% waiver on the penalty that you pay if you default on your property tax. This was a measure that was taken earlier by Pune Municipal Corporation, and it did work for them. Now the NMMC told us that they are mulling this decision, and they've already sent this proposal to the state government for approval.
Ruchi Deshpande there with that important story about the most innovative way to recover property tax. Thank you so much for bringing us those details. Now, moving on, 3,000 housing societies across Mumbai have finally got the complete ownership rights to their homes. These are the first few beneficiaries of a state government move to convert leasehold land to freehold land. We are Disha Shah, who caught up with homeowners from 200 buildings in Chembur, Mumbai, that got this big reprieve, and they've been fighting for it for over 5 years. Listening to this report that she sent us.
It is a sort of a small victory for over 200 buildings in Chembur in Mumbai, as the state government has given them a relief by converting leasehold lands into freehold lands. In simple terms, you will now get ownership rights to the land which is on lease and or the land which you don't own. Now the state government has made it much easier by converting those into freehold lands. Just to give you a quick background, it's been 5 years that 200 buildings in Chembur have been fighting to get their land into freehold. In fact, they had also put forth suggestions that the government should charge a premium of 1 rupee to 100 rupees per square foot for conversion. With this, now the issues related to transfer, sale and even redevelopment of properties will be solved in an easier manner. The state government has also set up a committee under the principal secretary to frame rules and regulations for various categories, be it for residential, industrial or educational purposes, and the report will be submitted within 2 months. Lastly, if this becomes law across Maharashtra, close to 20,000 housing societies will be benefited by the state government's decision.
Now, Disha did catch up with a few home buyers and asked them about the impact of this move. Listen to what they had to say.
Yes, this is a great relief given by the government. 200 plots, what you are talking about. I don't know the exact what is the exact numbers, but this relief given for the freehold, making the B property schedule 2 class of the thing, and the 1st June 2015 circular, which gives the relief to the condition which was laid down by the government on the rigid conditions were there, which was taken out or which has been relaxed by the government. So I appreciate that.
I think this is a much awaited information which we all were waiting for, because due to this class 2 classification, the residents and the societies were finding it very difficult to have a clear title over the property, and as such their redevelopment was being held up for years altogether. Every time we have to go to the collector's office. Collector's office is also not clear that what are the requirements, and obnoxious and unreasonable figures were being quoted that you have to pay so much to get the title cleared. So if this thing happens, this will be a big relief to the suburbs, and of course we also hope that in general government comes with a policy so that other class 2 occupancy buildings or the properties, they also get a similar relief.
And if you're still wondering what the hullabaloo is all about, let's break it down for you in Real Estate 101 today. We tell you the difference between leasehold and freehold properties. Take a look.
The main difference between a freehold and a leasehold property is control and land ownership. If you have purchased a freehold property, then you own it outright, including the land it's built on. You will have the rights to make any alteration to the house except for structural changes, in which case you will have to get permission from the authorities. And the best thing, you can live in that house for as long as you desire. But that's not the case with a leasehold property. If you're a leaseholder, then you have the right to live in that house for a stipulated period of time only, which in most cases is a period of 99 years. You will not own the property that you live in or the land that it stands on, but you will be paying a ground rent to the landowner. The ownership of the property is given back to the landowner once the lease expires. So if you're buying leasehold property, ensure you find out how long the lease will last. It is possible to extend this lease to 999 years by paying a price. So when you compare them both and look at the pros and cons, you end up with this. If you're a freeholder, you don't have to worry about the lease running out as in the case of leasehold property where there is a time limit. However, you will have to budget for the cost of maintaining that property. You also have to pay property taxes as you own this property. In leasehold property, you will not pay for maintaining the property, but you do have to pay rent. The most important thing to note, however, is that it is easier to sell and leverage a freehold property. Banks are generally hesitant to finance purchase of a leasehold property. The value of such property also reduces closer to the end of the lease period.
Now that that's clear, it's time to find out what else is making news in the world of properties. From Uday Kotak's mega real estate push to mounting trouble for Unitech, here's a quick wrap.
Kotak is all set to buy 50% stake in Divyashree's commercial assets for 1,600 crore rupees. In fact, this is the single biggest investment deal by Indian private company. Uday Kotak has already signed an MOU for the possible investment deal. However, a definitive agreement for this mega investment is still in talks. Construction giant Divyashree owns nearly 7 million square feet of office building across Hyderabad, Bangalore and Chennai. Industrial Realty and Logistics Parks developer Indospace is all set to invest $1 billion in India. The investment will be made over the next 5 years, taking the developer's total investment in India to $1.75 billion. Indospace believes India has a great manufacturing potential which has been unlocked by the government's Make in India program. Currently, Indospace has a presence in Pune, NCR, Bengaluru and Chennai. National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission has directed Unitech to refund 4 crore rupees to home buyers in Gurgaon. Unitech had promised possession within 3 years after buyers signed the purchase agreement in 2010. Failing to deliver the project on time, home buyers had filed the complaints with the NCDRC. Buyers were invested in Unitech's Vestas project in Sector 71, Gurgaon. standing panel finalizes 5% rebate on property tax in Nagpur. The civic body has decided to give the 5% rebate on property tax for early birds. Earlier, before the reassessment tax system, taxpayers got only 4% rebate on property tax if they paid on time. Authorities say the new tax system is very simple and citizens will be able to calculate their revised tax amount and pay without waiting for demand notes.
Moving away from all of that and on to some quick tricks that you can do yourself to spruce up your living space. We all love to make handcrafted objects, especially kids. Spills and messes are common at home with kids around, especially hot liquids like tea and coffee. If you're a neat freak like me and prefer having your drinks placed on a coaster, then you're in for a treat. Design it yourself. Akash Perry shows you how you can make a coaster at home with your little one. Take a look.
अब घर में अगर बच्चे हैं, you can't expect them कि वो ग्लास को वहीं रखेंगे जहां पर कोस्टर होगा. So मेरे दिमाग में एक प्लान आया है. प्लान जो इस प्रॉब्लम का सॉल्यूशन है, साथ ही साथ it will keep the kids busy, जिससे आपको ज्यादा तंग नहीं करेंगे. You know, kids love colors. You hand over colors to them and ask them to paint something. पूरा दिन आपको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करेंगे. So मैंने सोचा, how about we ask the kids only to make coasters using colors? कैसा लगा मेरा आइडिया? एक तीर से दो निशाने. It'll keep them busy. Plus, you'll have coasters for your home. First, we'll need wood pieces. Get them cut in this shape so that they look like a coaster. Now give your kids acrylic paint and brush and ask them to go crazy. That is, paint the coasters. Tell them also the first rule of DIY. Spread newspaper before you start painting. You know, अच्छा है DIY के रूल्स उन्हें बचपन से ही मालूम हो ताकि DIY का ब्लड उनके ब्लड के साथ मिश्रित हो जाए. Give them different colors so that the coasters look colorful, just like childhood. So first I used yellow, which is a bright color. Now I'll use black on top of it. You know, sometimes we don't realize, but kids are actually far more creative than us. So in this process, ask your kids to paint their imagination. Whatever they want to paint. Let it dry. For further effect, you can even paint the corners, that is the edges, and you'll have for your house colorful coasters made by your sweet little kids.
And with that, we've completely run out of time over here. But if you have any feedback or suggestions for us, write to us on the email ID flashing on your screens. We're also on Twitter and Facebook, so feel free to tweet to us or post a query on our Facebook page. We would love to hear from you. Also remember to check out our live streaming website, www.mbnow.in. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news on Magic Bricks. Now, thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.